Hello and welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for choosing to spend your time with me today. I am so stoked that you are here. If you are new to the show, welcome. Here at Her Education, we talk all things women's health for health professionals, mostly in relation to EPs, but everyone here is welcome if you have a passion for women's health or maybe want to learn a little bit more, maybe you're into business. We dive into the research, we talk about practical skill development, business, and self development. It's a space for clinicians who want to grow not just their knowledge, but also their confidence in clinical practice, personal well-being, development, business, all the things. And we want to have a bigger impact. So, welcome. Now, before we dive into the episode, a quick reminder if you're enjoying these conversations, you like the show, it would mean so much if you shared this episode with a colleague or friend, maybe even on your social media. The more we spread these ideas, the more that we can lift the standard of women's health together, and also for the EPs in the room, increase the awareness around exercise physiology, which I'm sure all of you are aware is sometimes hard to explain what we actually do and who we are. So hopefully we can bring the industry up together. Now, today's topic is about knowledge versus practical skill, shall we say. There's a pretty dark side to professional development. And too often, I think we sit in lectures, webinars, we read research papers, and we just tick off the CPD point. And maybe gain a little bit more knowledge. We walk away with feeling like we know a little bit more, but maybe we don't have the ability to actually use it or apply it. And here's the truth: knowledge is power, but only if you implement it and your practical skills are also up to date. So today, I really want to pose maybe a little bit of tension, but I want you to think about, are we just collecting information or are we actually becoming better clinicians? Let's start with the research. Research is critical. We need it to guide our decisions. We need it to show that what we're doing actually works, that we're not just randomly programming things for people and hoping it actually doesn't something for them, but we can say, yes, it's appropriate. But there's a few things that I really don't love about research. Number one is research hardly ever tells you the actual exercises they used, which kills me. And I understand why. I get it. Maybe I get it. I'm not sure if I really do get it. But anyway, I just feel like I'm continually reading research that says strength training, 2 sessions a week at this, maybe a percentage of RM, or aerobic exercise at an intensity of X was helpful. But we need more research in some cases. I'm joking about that one. But I just don't feel like they ever say, yeah, cool, this is what we did. This is the exercises that we did. This is the sets and reps. This is how we progressed it. And to me, that's what I feel like is the most important part. Anyway, that's the first thing I hate. I hate that it doesn't explore how to adapt those exercises to the client sitting in front of you outside of a research environment. It doesn't really teach you how to communicate sensitively when someone might be feeling distressed or having a lot of other things in their life feed into potentially their adherence to the program. It also doesn't help you lead a client through long-term change. And the research participants themselves, well, they're usually highly motivated, they're very closely monitored, and voluntarily signing up to be part of the study. They probably didn't turn up to the study saying, oh, I was just told to come here and I had a referral given to me, but I'm not really sure why. Which I'm sure if you're listening to this, you've heard from many clients, mostly those who come from GPs potentially, but they never really know what they're signing up for. And if they knew it was exercise, maybe they wouldn't have come in the first place. But anyway, that's a whole nother discussion. All of these things aren't like all the things that research doesn't do is not really the reality of our clients. So if we're only really chasing the latest research and the evidence, we do really risk being, we're informed, but maybe it's not as effective as what it could be. And here's an important balance to recognize. There are definitely topics in women's health that do require more theory-based knowledge. Having the deeper understanding, maybe about the physiology, cell changes, really do help. But what we really need is more practical application. It's the kind of learning that really sharpens your ability to actually prescribe the exercise, adapt the programming or the exercise, it's the choice itself, and deliver effective treatment plans. This is why her education has always been built around being practical. The pelvic health mentorship that I run and the collaborative programs are not just about theory. There is a huge component of it that is practical. We dive into real client case studies where we even talk about maybe what didn't go right with that client. They came back and reported symptoms got worse. And what did we do about that? We break down the exact programming that was used. So we include exercises, like the choice of exercises. We've included sets and we've included reps so that you know exactly what it is, along with the progressions of each phase for those that are progression based. And we talk about the cues that work really well, how to change up those cues for different people and what that person might actually need. And we also talk about how to adjust for different presentations. That's really the kind of learning that sticks, I think, personally, because you can take it into clinic the next day and apply it and see how the research and the theory applies practically. Because I feel like there's actually quite a big gap there with the theory and the practical application. And you really don't learn that unless someone helps you. Or you're willing to have a go and see what happens, which, to be fair, that is a lot about what I did when I was an early clinician. Especially with pelvic floor rehab, there is not a lot of research out there, or there wasn't at the time, that really was about more than just pelvic floor exercises for really restoring function or helping people get back into like higher end activity. So a lot of the time for me, it was trial and error. And that's how I got the experience. And that's now what I actually teach inside the mentorship. Which, if you're actually interested in the mentorship, there is a waitlist started for 2026. I'll leave the link in the show notes here. It will be a smaller intake than normal. So if you are interested, please join the waitlist because I'll offer positions there first. But yeah, if you're interested in learning a little bit more about pelvic floor function, the rehab across all the different life phases, there is a waitlist started. But essentially, the same concept applied to, like I said, the collaborative programs where I have very much made it very clear to people that educate in those programs that at least 50% of these programs that people are coming through have to be practical so that we can apply it and see how you as a clinician deliver this as exercise programming so we can teach that properly. But the same thing has been the driving reasons behind the presentations inside WHAES. 3 of the sessions this year are actually designed as workshops. So they are not, I'm pretty sure all 3 of them are not, there's no slides with them. So you're not sitting in slideshows. You'll be on the floor, you're going to be moving, and you're going to be feeling the concepts that we talk about in your own body. So you're not just hearing about them and watching like webinars and maybe thinking about how it might apply to your client, but you'll actually experience how it applies to you. Because I think being a great clinician requires more than just knowing that the exercise helps and this is what you should do. It's really about knowing how to prescribe the right exercises, how to adjust positioning, how to cue really well, how to progress those exercises, how to regress it if need be, how to troubleshoot when things don't go to plan, because that is so common. Our clients are not part of research studies. They're not adhering to the 3 sessions, 4 sessions of prescription that you give them every single week. So they might not get the results that we think they should. It's also about communication. This can be the difference between a client dropping out of your services or staying and adhering to a full treatment plan or being just a long-term client in general. It's also about leadership, being able to guide your clients through uncertainty and help them trust the process, because we know exercise is not an instant gratification treatment. It is not hands-on therapy where you automatically feel great after 1 hour of it. If anything, exercise, I guess you do feel great after an hour of exercise, but in a different way. It is also quite hard for people. So we have to teach them how to trust the process. And I think that's us as clinicians leading our clients. And I think the kicker for me is that this is not like the soft extras of your care. This is the delivery system for evidence-based care. Think about it. What do you do when a client comes in and the program that you gave them last week isn't actually working? Do you have the skills to adapt, pivot, and help them still feel supported or know what to do, go down different pathways? Do you have other things, I want to say, up your sleeve? That's the real test of whether or not your professional development is actually helping you grow, or maybe it's just filling your head with lots of information and helping you tick off your PD points. And here's the trap that I see so many clinicians fall into. Most CPD opportunities are very research heavy, lecture style, and academic. You feel leaving inspired, but nothing really changes in your day-to-day practice. And can I tell you, the reason that this potentially is the problem or is a problem is because it's very easy to put together some slides with some research and theory and teach that. It is a lot harder to deliver practical application. In-person workshops, definitely a little bit easier. You can run through some things, but without the length of programming being more than a day, you're not going to get a lot done in that one day. And online, it is so much harder to cue and teach and demonstrate. You have to be very, very creative, which for me, I'm lucky that I've developed a lot of those skills in the virtual clinic delivering the actual exercises. So I have been able to translate that over to education quite easily. When PD becomes research heavy, lecture style, presentations, and you maybe don't change the way you do your practice the next day, you basically go back to doing what's second nature to you. That's what's easier. It feels natural, it's normal, it requires a lot less headspace, it requires a lot less energy. We know that it's hard to learn new things and apply. And let's be real, changing what you do is sometimes really hard. I've seen this a couple of times in the mentorships with clinicians who are 10 years in, and I'm trying to get them to change their initial assessment to add pelvic floor stuff in, or the way they do their initial for people that maybe not pelvic floor specific clients, but need that as part of maybe hip rehabilitation, or they're maybe in menopause, or they've got other health conditions and they need some pelvic floor support. It is so easy to just revert back to what's easy because your time might be limited in your sessions. It just comes so natural to just do what you already do, and you've been doing it for 10 years. So it's not super fresh. If you're a new, super fresh clinician out of uni, it's so much easier to start doing it now. So this generally creates a cycle, right? Like you do the research, you tick off the CPD box, no real impact for your clients, no increase in your confidence, and then you kind of start to wonder like why you still don't feel satisfied in your work, maybe why your work doesn't feel any different and how you deliver your care doesn't feel any different. It's really just this like cycle. You need to be able to learn something practical that's super easy to put into the next day that you can build on over time. So here's the question of reflection that I want you to think about after listening to this episode. When was the last time that your professional development actually changed what you did in your clinical practice with a real client the very next day? If it hasn't happened in a while, that's a sign that you probably need more CPD that actually focuses on practical application. Remember, knowledge is power, but only if your practical skills actually keep up with it. Research alone won't make you a better clinician, but pairing knowledge with real world application, this is where the magic happens. And that's actually part of the big reason why I also created the research spotlight emails and the blog posts. If you haven't already seen them, they're up on the website. It wasn't enough to just summarize research for me. I read it and I felt great, but I actually started writing down how to apply it in practice. And I found that process so useful because it meant that the research didn't just stay in my head, number one, but it actually influenced what I was doing with clients, and writing it down like practical application of this research. How would I apply this? What does it mean for me? Made like it gave me clarity on it. I can't, because sometimes you read things and it's in your head. Oh yeah, cool. But when you write it down, it's different. It lands different. You remember it. You can really see how it would pan out. I'd encourage you to actually try this. Do the same thing. Next time you read a paper, actually write out how you'd use it in your clinic tomorrow. That's where growth as a clinician is really going to happen. This is, like I said, this is exactly what her education is all about, being practical. Collaborative programs, the mentorship, even WHAES. I've already talked about how we do case studies. We're looking at exact programming that clinicians use, cues they have, how to adapt the treatment for different types of client presentations. It's the detail that really makes you confident in your skills, not just aware of what the science is or what the research says. I'm excited for WHAES because it's like kind of like a new way of delivering really short form education, kind of similar to a webinar, I guess, because that is technically to me short form PD. It's not like we've tried really hard not to have this as like a lecture style. Obviously, there's only so much you can do within an online forum, but we've got tools, we've got frameworks, we've got strategies, things that you can take away and use tomorrow. And we've included some really cool workshop style sessions for you where you're going to be moving and experiencing and learning through practice. It's really exciting. I can't wait to hear your feedback on this because I think that's such a like we are movement therapists. We love moving for a reason. We're not in office jobs for a reason. So feeling this and learning it, I think for me lands differently. So I hope it does for you too. Now, before I finish up this episode, let me just make this really clear that I'm not anti-research. I'm more like pro-application. And that's what really makes us better clinicians. That is a wrap on this week's episode. I really hope that you have found this helpful and it's given you a really different perspective around how you learn, but also how you apply. Thanks again for sharing your time with me today. Have a great day from wherever you are, and I'll see you in the next one.